Good evening, brothers and sisters, and ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the truth. We're glad to see you back. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. I want to do a segment today relates to my personal life. I'm a father of many children, and we don't have a close relationship like we should have. I think it kind of stems from my childhood. When I was a child, I think I was about 4 years old at the time, I kept hearing my mother tell me that she didn't love me. So I was finally got the nerve to ask, "Why, Mommy, you don't love me?" And she responded with, "I wanted to have a big family, and it took so many hours to have you that it cost me all my vital organs and had to have a hysterectomy." I didn't know what that meant, but I understood that it was a surgery and that obviously she couldn't have more children because of it. And she was upset. But to say that she hated me because of that, that was pretty tough for me to grow up with that. And it came out in a lot of different situations. But you tend to move on from it. And then as time went on and as the years went by, I thought, well, it'll change. And one day she will forgive me and we will be a family like we should be. But that never happened. It never happened, brothers and sisters and ladies and gentlemen, and it's a sad day when you can't have a relationship with your own mother in the same dwelling that you live in. So as time went on, I tried to mend the fence, and it wasn't happening. She wasn't going to have no part of it. I always got her flowers on Mother's Day. I don't ever remember her watering any of them. I always got her chocolates on her, like Christmas and things like that. And they would melt before she could eat them. I always brought a sack of candy home from Halloween because I knew that she had a sweet tooth. She'd let it get old and nasty before she would eat it. But if one of the other family members gave it to her, she'd eat everything, including the wrapper. So, needless to say, she didn't want anything to do with me at all. She once told me that all I needed was to get C average at school. I always strived to do better than that because I wanted her to be proud, and I thought that might change things. So I used to get B's and A's. I never got a thank you. I never got a good job. Nothing like that ever took place. But if I had one incident where they had to call home and talk to a parent, and she got on the phone, she would take all the information down. She'd be really nice. And then when I got home, that's when it hit the fan. She would, nowadays, what they call physical abuse me. She would ground me. I was not able to go anywhere, do anything. I didn't have any friends or anybody that I could go over to their home, or, I mean, I had a lot of them, but she wouldn't let me go to any of them, so that was the end of that. I loved to play sports, and that was my only salvation, is to play sports that got me out of trouble and got me out of the house for, at least for the practice or the game, right? And I really accelerated in my sports. That never meant anything to her either. Uh, she just acted like it was a bunch of stinky athletes out there getting sweaty. It was never anything fancy or anything that she could be proud of or that she could talk to others about because she didn't care. When other people would talk to her about me, she would try to shine them on. Oh yeah, he just did wonderful, didn't he? And oh yes, he was so dominant in his wrestling matches. And oh yes, I seen him hit the ball out of the park. Oh Lord, this, that, and the other. But really and truthfully, she never seen anything. She only heard about it. The only way she could see it is if they had satellite TV, and it had to be right in her hand and glued to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I don't know if that is the reason that I was a different type of parent, but I do think it probably affected me in many ways. And for example, all my kids were very good when they were little, very loving, things like that. But we got separated at a young time in their lives. And, marriages and relationships don't always work. But I never, ever gave up being their dad. I always claimed who my kids are and who they were. So they meant so much to me in my heart. But the reason that we could not carry on the relationship was something that was not in my control. We had a separation by the court, and it just happens, A lot of different things that took place, and just nothing I could do about it, basically. And but I went out of the realm of the normal situation. And even though the kids went into foster care, I found them. And when I found them, I rescued them. I told them I was, sorry for what they endured and this, that, and the other, and that I wanted them in my life. And for a while, I thought it was going to happen, actually. I thought we were going to have this big, happy reunion. But it didn't happen. They were pretty much set in their ways by that time. I wasn't open-minded as I should have been, I guess. I was what you call closed-minded because I was very pessimistic. I was never really optimistic. I didn't, give them a big hug and a kiss before they went to bed or when they woke up, or, I wasn't a type of parent that showed any love, I guess you could say. Not in the way that most kids need to receive it. My kind of love was more, I'm military, so for me it was, great job, or, thank you for making me proud, but there was nothing to go with it. It was just words. And I really felt it, and I really meant the words, but I honestly think that the kids over time developed a sadness, if you will, loneliness, lack of attention that most children need, and I think I wedged a big gap in there and a bridge that kept us apart. I think I should have been more loving and more attentive and, you know, more caring. Now, of course, I did care, of course, and love them. And there were times that people said things to them that were not appropriate in my mind, or done something to them, you know, in some way. And, you know, I would get retribution. I had a very bad temper. I was violent. And I would go over and see their parents, and if the parents didn't show remorse, then they got knocked out. I had a, you know, very, very low tolerance for disrespect. That's one of my pet peeves. If you disrespect me, be ready for war. That's the way I felt. That's the way I lived my life. And being in the military, you kind of form that opinion when you're in special forces. You know, it makes you feel that way. And the other thing is, you know, there's no reason to disrespect somebody who takes on a huge responsibility, goes over, fights for the country, does everything that they can to provide freedom, saves lives, so many things, you know, there's just no reason for it. And for me, I want everyone to be accountable for everything, even though I wasn't accountable for everything, obviously, as a parent. So I guess I wanted my cake and eat it too. That's what a lot of people say, they call it. And I also want to talk about the kids weren't perfect, you know. I had kids that, you know, took the wrong path. I had kids who their behavior was not really acceptable. They liked to sometimes talk back too much. Sometimes the language was not appropriate. Sometimes they didn't like to do what I told them that needed to be done. So they had their rebellious stage, I guess you could call it. But once again, was that because of who they were? Or was that because of what I forced them into? You know, by not being more sincere, more loving, more caring, you know, more open, intimacy, you know, kissing on the cheeks and giving them hugs and things like that. I just don't think I don't think I did the right things as a parent. I think that I missed a big part of what they needed. So I own my part. But now that I'm an old man and I'm not healthy, and I do have PTSD, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that, post-traumatic stress disorder. So many things trigger my temper and my attitude, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm on medication to try to calm it down, of course, but when it blows, I don't think there is a medication for that. I think once you lose it, you just be prepared for the storm. Because I mean, seriously, all hell breaks loose. That's how it works. And I also want to say things like, I've known very many families who appear to be the perfect family, never argue, never have problems, always getting along, the kids getting to go wherever they want to go, when they want to go. You know, gifts of all kinds at different times. And, you know, I've seen a lot of things, but I got to tell you, a lot of those families that have everything, they're not happy either. Behind the scenes, a lot of times you'll find that there's a lot of discernment. You know, there's a lot of terrible memories. There's a lot of jealousy amongst them. There's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of immaturity in some places. Some of the kids were real mature. Some were very immature. So, I mean, things happen. And to make a long story short, they didn't figure it out, you know, regardless of what was said to them or how they were instructed to act or be. They chose their own path. And quite frankly, that's not unusual, but it is unusual for a parent to not overcome it and intervene and try to change it. I don't think we ever should give up. I think we should strive to do whatever is needed to make it happen. And I guess that's where I made my mistake, was not staying diligent and trying to make a difference in their lives like I should have. So giving them money and protecting them isn't enough, I can tell you. They need that love, and they need that understanding and hugs and kisses, and they just, you know, they need it. They need to know that you love them, not just the words. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, I have to apologize to them and to God and everyone that, you know, is involved in our lives and has been, because I'm definitely the one who let us down, and you know, I'm sad about that, but I'm also sad about their behaviors and the things that they weren't willing to change. I'm really sad about the way they treat each other as kids, and I'm also sad about the way that they talk to me in reference to comparing me to, let's say, another person in the newspaper, or somebody that they have met in their lives, like at school or wherever, or another child's parent, or, you know, a lot of comparisons that go on. And like I told them, you know, most of the time when you guys are telling me something, you're not following up for me to get to the bottom of it. You are, majority of the time, keeping it from me. You're keeping it to yourself. So if I can't share it and I don't know what's broken, how can I fix it? So communication's a big deal, and we didn't do enough of that. You know, I think everybody needs to find God in their own way, and they need to have a relationship with God. The fact that I went to church and that I love church and everything that it brings for me, I couldn't be any happier there. You know, I feel the Holy Ghost when I'm there, and I get completely filled in my spirit. So in my heart, you know, I'm good there. So for other people to experience that, you're not going to get that off of a TV show or because somebody told you about it. And you may not like to go to the church that I go to, and that may not do it for you. You may have to try several different churches until you find one that gives you that completion that you need. Brings everything in your life full circle. And a lot of times what that's going to be is probably a church that possibly could be non-denominational, has a very open policy as far as the way they teach and how they read scriptures and just the different things that they do to make it work. And that's probably acceptable to a lot of people because there's nothing that they're required to do other than have faith, be diligent and spread the gospel, read their scriptures, and follow the plan of salvation. Live by the 10 Commandments. I mean, it's really quite simple. I also want to say, when it comes to family, there are a lot of families that you can see the love in the family. Boy goes to school, gets involved in, could be chorus or could be the band or just whatever it might be, gets involved in the school functions. And now every time they have an outing, the parents get to go to that, or all the kids get to go to, and showing their support for what they have achieved. That's a really good feeling. So, they need that. Or say that you have a daughter or two and, they want to be a gymnast. So that's great, right? Or maybe they want to be in the ballet. Or maybe they want to be actresses. Or maybe they love the medical field. Or maybe they love the plant field. Getting plants, taking care of plants, replanting them, doing everything that it takes to make them work. So I'm thinking that there are a lot of factors to have a successful family, ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters. And for the boys' side of things, usually they're a little more ornery than the girls, me being one of those. But the girls can be just as ornery. Don't think they can't. They can. And sometimes their behavior puts them in a place where I can't do anything about that. Neither can their mother. And while they're there, maybe they're not treated the best. Well, of course, they're not going to respond to bad treatment. Who would? So I don't condone this type of treatment process. I don't think children are a toy to exploit. I don't think they're somebody that people should try out their new methods on, or whatever they're thinking, because these kids are our future leaders, adults, family, heads of the family, bosses on jobs, or just friends. Just friends, or relatives by marriage, or who knows. So the point is, when you have such a diversified group of people involved in your everyday lives, you have to kind of sift through the people and figure out which ones make sense. You're trying to be a photographer, so this person's a professional at what they do. They have their own business. They're very successful. And they're willing to teach you the ropes. Well, you don't take that lightly. You go in hands open, guns a-blazing. and you hope that everything clicks and it works for you. Wouldn't that just be so wonderful, right? But then there are times when we fail and we slip and we fall. And when that happens, we try to pick them up, but then sometimes they fall again. Well, after so many falls, there are no more chances. Ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters, we're running out of chances. That's what it's getting to. We're out of chances. And when we don't care about our siblings and about the way that they go to get water, or the way they eat, or the way that they dress, or whatever it may be, we need to care. We need to care about each other 100%. And when we have a problem in our family, we need communication. When we don't communicate, that's when it escalates. So we're basically creating our own problems, brothers and sisters, and ladies and gentlemen. We are creating a situation that is life-changing. You know, can be so damaging, can be so devastating, sometimes even fatal. You know, we don't want to drive our children to commit suicide or to give up on life in any way, or not have the drive that they had once had, or not feel as loving as they once did, or not give as much of their self as it takes to make the relationship work. You know, they're lacking something. Well, maybe it's not their fault, but it is our fault for not helping them. If we recognize that there's a problem, then we also need to recognize that there is a solution. Because there is a solution to every problem. And every problem seems to have a brother or a sister or an aunt or an uncle. It's like they can magnify with no problem at all. In no short time. It doesn't matter. It could be 1 minute, or it could be 1 day, or 1 hour, or 1 week, or 1 second. Who knows? But it's not as though we don't have the resources to purchase a flashlight, and, you know, purchase a few tools that you can work on in the garden, or tough times, or whatever you're doing on a camping trip, or whatever it may be. And by doing a cabinet, what I call a Chester, I call it a life chest is what I call it. I think my grandmother called it a Chester treasure, or something like that. But nonetheless, what it is, ladies and gentlemen, is it's all the memories that we're talking about right now. Everything that we've been through. The kids' first steps. The kids' first paper that they did in, say, kindergarten. Colored it in. Or the first time that they had a test in math, or they got all the problems right, or, you know, or a spelling assignment that they aced it, you know. They can't wait to show it, you know, so that kind of thing. I mean, all the things that the kids go through are part of us, and if they're not, then there's a problem there. That's the problem, because we are the backbone of who our kids are. And when we let our kids do things that are inappropriate or a bad influence or run with people who give them thoughts and take them on journeys that we should never go down, or follow a path with no return. There's a lot of things we can do to save them. But do we have the effort? Do we have the patience? Do we have the love and the understanding to stick it out? Well, for me, I'm going to say that everybody in my immediate family has what it takes to change it, to make it closer. All the kids that are not close to me at a certain moment, do I think they could change and be a part of my life and each other's lives now that it's getting so close to the end of mine? It would be wonderful. I've got two different opinions now that are telling me, get your affairs in order, because God's about to call you up, buddy. I mean, it's just that simple. It happens. The Lord doesn't owe us an explanation. He just needs our help, and He comes and gets us. That's all there is to it. So, I guess for me, I want to say, be sure and monitor what your young children do. Never let them out of your sight. Never give others an opportunity to change their life and yours forever. That extra little wink of sleep is not going to make a difference. I promise you that. You're talking to somebody who has been through it, knows it, feels it, could invent it if you had to. Just knows it inside and out, and what it takes to make it successful. So, as a parent, we need to just man up and take our responsibilities. That's what we need to do. And you've always heard the old saying that the apple doesn't go too far from the tree, but that's the other thing. When the tree gets too far from the apple, it's not the apple's fault. So it's not always their fault, okay? We just have to admit when we're wrong. And then we need to fix it. And then we need to go forward. That's what we need to do. And I think that for the most part we all can do that. But I do think when you're down there pulling up your bootstrings, and when you're making changes to give others life, I think you need to ask yourself, is this all I can do? Am I doing all I can do to fix this? And if you're not, then you need to feel that there is one way out of all the ways that are there to fill the void. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use the exact way of the exact person that's there. That's not the case. This could be a member or a friend of an organization that you've been involved in all your life, and you finally just thought it was a great idea and you want to share it. So you implement that into your family's idea scheme and see if it goes over. Hopefully it will. But if it don't, it's no problem, right? Because we know who we are and what we need to do. It's not a big deal. I just want to say it's been really good having this segment. You know, I get a little bit sidetracked because I don't know, my mind is always wandering and thinking ahead. And if I could, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I would just open up my arms and take every child in, no matter what color, race, what their family history is. It wouldn't make any difference to me, because I think that everybody deserves a chance. Now, I haven't always felt that way. Don't get me wrong, and I have made mistakes by being judgmental, or maybe it would appear as though I had a prejudicial way in some way. But a lot of the times it's me repeating things that I went through in my childhood, or with my grandparents, or whatever it may be. So I'm repeating what I experienced or whatever. But the bottom line is we do know right from wrong. I do have good morals and values, and I want to make a difference. So if anybody would like to call into the show, we would be glad to answer your questions. Or if you want to text us, or leave a message on the voicemails, or whatever you want to do. If you want to be, if you want to reach out or put a hand out, we're going to listen. And if we don't have the answer, we're going to get it for you. But if it happens to be with the experience that we've been through, we will help you for sure. Because I've been through a lot, and so has the others. And we have a lot of input, and a lot of data, and a lot of intelligence that we can go through to try and solve whatever it is that you're going through. I always like to take the time to discuss different things with one of our family members here on the show, and we call him Inspiration, because he's young and he's always trying to inspire, and he's got a lot of get up and go. You don't sit down much. He's just a great human being. He's 14 years old, and he's a typical boy. He's not always perfect. He sometimes is a little bit sassy. He loves to have the last word, and he'll test your limits, like all boys do. In fact, boys and girls in my family tested. So I'm going to turn it over to him now. I am the truth, nothing but the truth. I'll always be here for you. 515-865-2798 if ever you need us. Or go on our site. Come to YouTube and spend the day with us. Spend 10 minutes with us. Anything at all, we can grow a relationship. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Inspiration. Inspiration, how you doing?
Great.
Why don't you take over? I think I've done all I can do today. I know that you haven't had the best luck in your childhood, and a lot of times children don't know what to think, because they haven't seen anybody or talked to anybody that's, been through things, or they're scared to talk, or, I mean, it can be a lot of things. And so I'm going to say that it would be nice to hear from you, your point of view, and what you've been through, and give us a little input as to how far you've come and what your future holds or what you're trying to accomplish, and how your parenting is now, how people have helped you now, what voids are filled, what are not filled. If there's any emptiness, what can anyone do to help you with that? Or just give us a view from somebody who has experienced ups and downs in their childhood up to age 14, and tell us what it's like to be a teenager. Go ahead.
Well, it sucks to be a teenager, and I've come a long way. I used to get all F's on my report card, and I've been working my way up to D's, C's, B's, and A's. Getting a lot of A's and B's and C's. And I also think that I could one day be a football player. That's my future. And I could start getting some money and buy some stuff. But money cannot buy happiness. And that's all I can say.
Tell me, what motivates you in your everyday life to always be positive and to try to keep a good attitude? What do you think drives you in that area? Or people that influence you, let's say.
Dogs. They're not people, but I think I do stuff for the dogs. And maybe I just do it for myself. I try to get up and sometimes do what I'm supposed to, and I try my best to succeed in life and try to be the best I can be as a person.
Okay, well, I also know that growing up that your parents split up at a really young age. That had to be hard, of course. She got custody of you. And then your father worked really, really hard to prove that he was more worthy to have you in his life as full-time with him. And he was willing to share you, actually, as I remember it, with your mother. But the court decided that it was time for the boy to have some manly correction and some manly guidance, and wanted to give you some tools to work with to move on in life and to be more structured and a little more steady and successful. I remember when your dad went to court even, he fought for you. He fought for you. He prepared for you. He sacrificed to have you. And most fathers don't. They give up. Not many go through the court process and really fight for you. I've seen so many that don't. It's just terrible. But I think you're blessed that he stuck by you and fought for you. And then he has that, what I call blessing, that he met a woman in his life that always puts others first. And for him, that was like a miracle, a shining light that he just couldn't resist. Somebody who was down to earth and caring and giving and always wanting to make others happy and always putting herself last. Not that I approve of that, but she's just that kind of person. She's so good-hearted that she wants to put herself last. And everybody wants to have a mom and dad. And I know that it's not your mother, but she's a fine example.
She's the closest thing to a mother.
Yes, and what I would say is she is a extremely good mentor and friend, as well as motherly instincts that teach you things to make you better. Cares about your homework and cares about your physical health, cares about your schooling, and cares, when you go somewhere that you're safe, and loves Jesus, and you just have a really good thing going on there, it looks like. And how do you feel about that?
I think I'm blessed to have what I have. To have a mom and dad. Some kids out there don't have moms, or they don't have dads, or they don't even have parents. So I think I'm blessed in that area.
Well, I think that it's just great that
she's a good role model.
That you have shared with us, and that we have opened some doors so that other people can see that even though you have a rough time when you're growing up, it doesn't mean that it can't change. It doesn't mean that losing one parent doesn't gain you another good friend and a woman or man that has the characteristics of your original parent, even though they're not. They give you something to hope for and to hang on to, and something that you can trust. And that's everything. You need something you can trust in your life. Without trust and without family, what do you have?
Nothing.
You don't have too much. And so there's a lot of things that we could probably talk more on. And one day when we have a segment on particular things that has to do with children, or families that have a falling out, or that have a lot of problems, we can kind of go through some of those rough times and good times, and try to figure out what makes kids tick and what makes teenagers do what they do. And I know that when you're diagnosed with like ADHD, you have a lot of energy, and I see that you're one of those that has that. So maybe that's why you can't sit still a lot, that you love to always be moving. That's a good thing. I also noticed that you like to eat fairly healthy. I noticed your grandpa was one who always ate really, really healthy and always kept fit. And it seems like it's kind of went down through the family tree and got to you. And it seems like you kind of picked up on it. So it looks like you're headed in the right direction.
It's always better to eat healthy than to eat junk food. Yeah.
And I hope that we can spend a lot more time with you in the future and get to know you more. And those of you who may call in, may have questions or may have advice for either one of us, we're always happy to hear that, or your opinions. And if there's anything that we can do to change or help your lives, that's what we're here for. The truth. And nothing but the truth. And for inspiration, it looks like he's headed down the right path. We're about 12 days from school to start, and he's looking forward to that. And we're going to call that a day, and we definitely want you to tune in whenever possible. And of course, you can always call in your comments, questions, concerns, or advice for us or to get some. Either way, 515-865-2798. And once again, you can talk to the Truth, or you can talk to Inspiration, or any of the other staff that answer the phone. Everybody here is aware, and everybody here cares, and we all want the truth. Nothing but the truth.
And thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.